In this lesson, I want to show you how you can adjust effects with the keyframes. So this will allow you to create sort of an effect transition onto or off of a clip. So here's this shot that I have of the Swiss Alps that I shot while I was on a trip to Switzerland with my wife. And say we want this shot, that maybe this is the end of our film or the beginning, and it's going to start off on the shot, and then we want it to blur so that we can add a title over it. Let's go down to our blur sharpen effects. We're going to add the Gaussian blur to our clip. When I do that, nothing happens. We have to go to the effects controls, and first we're going to set a keyframe for blurriness at 0. So I'm going to go to where I want it to transition, maybe right around 4 seconds. Set that keyframe by clicking this stopwatch icon. Then go maybe a second or two later. And now I increase the blurriness. Something like so. And with this effect, I'm going to repeat edge pixels. You see here that as I increase the blurriness, the edge gets a little bit dark. I don't want that to happen, so I'm just going to click this repeat edge pixels, and that makes the edge not have that shadow on it. So now if I play through this, it transitions into this blur. This is something that you can do to sort of replicate a blur of focus if you were doing it manually out there in the field. Sometimes that works better than others for different shots. And now with the blurred out background, we can actually add some text to this so it will appear a little bit better. Let me just show you that really quickly. So if I go to my project tab, click the new item button, click new title, I'm just going to leave it at title 1. Then if I just add this title in the middle, I'll just call this the Alps! Exclamation point. So exciting. I'm going to change this to Helvetica, change it to bold, then use the center options right here to center this text. And maybe add just a little bit of an outer stroke, just a black outer stroke, clicking that add stroke button, increase the stroke size, exit out of that, add this to my clip. Let me just show it to you what happens. So here, before it's blurred out, yeah, it's visible, but right here, when it does blur out, it's much more visible. So with this kind of transition, I would probably create a fade on for the title as the blur of the background starts to come on. So I'll go to on the timeline up here, I'll go to this first keyframe, and I could get to it by clicking this button right here. These buttons are the go to next keyframe button. And I'll make sure that on my timeline down here, my cross dissolve starts at that point. And then I'll go back to this timeline, go to the next keyframe, which automatically jumps my timeline indicator down here to this point, and I'll increase the cross dissolve to that point. So both the cross dissolve and the blur happen at the same time at the same rate. And that looks pretty darn cool. So that's how you can use keyframes to adjust the settings of an effect and create that sort of animated effect on or off of your clip, or just more or less dramatic. So maybe it's already blurred and then we want to make it even more blurry. We can do that. Let's just set a keyframe here again for 49, so that, because if I just went here and increased it to whatever, 194, then that means from this keyframe to this keyframe there will be an effect or an animation. But I want it to stay at 49 for a while. So set a keyframe there for 49. Then go forward, change this to whatever, 200 or so. Drag this keyframe to the end of the clip. And maybe that would be a good place to fade out of the title. So let's just fade out of the title here. Make it a little bit sooner. Kind of a cool effect. Anyways, I think you get the point now how to add keyframes to your effects. Have fun with it, and we'll see you in another lesson.